So for this next part of the virtual Expo program, what I thought we could do is have a bit of a brief look at the 2023 main round. So we're just going to talk about how it ran and what happened. And then after that, we'll have a bit of an awards session to celebrate some of the wonderful performances that we saw in the competition. Can I just confirm that everyone can see my title card slide okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So just a bit of a recap in case you're joining us for the first time out of interest to see what's happening with this competition and how it all works, right? So the way that we organize the 2023 competition of the League of Robot Runners is we try to identify some core challenges, right, in the area of multi-agent, multi-robot pathfinding, path planning. And the things that we came up basically were this, right? So we wanted to plan for robots on a grid. You just heard Federico talking about the importance of grids. We assume, though, that similar to the sort of examples that we saw, right, that the robots have rotation, okay? So they cannot just go up, down, left, and right, as some models assume, but they have to turn to the left and to the right. We simplify action costs, so everything has a unit action cost. We avoid some simple collisions, vertex collisions, so occupancy at the same location, and no swapping between adjacent locations. You can see some words here about the environment properties, right? One of the nice things about one of the goals, I guess, that we had with designing the setup and the supporting infrastructure around it is that there is room, you can see in these boxes here, right, for extending the setup. So if your particular problem that you're interested in looks slightly different to ours, perhaps the infrastructure that we've developed may still be interesting through some extensions. Okay, so the main activity that robots are carrying out in the League of Robot Runners are errands. Okay, so an errand is basically a request that a robot visit a particular location on the grid. Errands are assigned by some oracle. And the way that it works basically is we might have a robot like this. So here's number 51, good old 51. This robot is told to go to this corresponding location over here, right? The task once the robot arrives, the oracle then tells the robot where to go next. Okay, so this might be the newly assigned errand for the robot after it arrives at the previous location. So now it has to plan a new path, right? Again, being collision-free with respect to the environment and other robots, okay? Errands are assigned to robots sequentially. We have a pre-generated list. And the problem continues essentially until either all the errands are complete or up to a time limit, okay? That's the basic setup of how the competition ran. We asked participants to implement a planner to coordinate the collision-free movements of the robots to get them to complete their errands as efficiently as possible, right? Here I have a kind of a simplified overview of how the system validates the moves from the planner and how the simulation proceeds, right? So basically the planner assigns errands to agents, right? We can see the planner component over here. Actions come out of the planner, right? Every time step we ask the planner for a set of valid actions. We need one action per agent. The central controller here, right? The simulator checks if those actions are valid. If they're valid, then the commands are issued to the robots and they're moved on the grid. If it turns out that the planned actions are invalid, right? Or sometimes it could be the case that the planner times out. The robots are issued wait commands until the next time step, okay? So here we have the wait commands where the planner is thinking for a little bit longer. The way that the evaluation ran in the competition, so there is an opportunity to construct auxiliary data, right? To analyze the map, to build some data structures to support online planning. 30 minutes per map are available. And then, right, the rest of the problem is solved online, right? Complete as many errands as possible. Time elapses at a rate of 1 second per time step. I'll just mention the scoring system because we'll be talking about scores in a minute. So basically, we track the best solution so far for every instance solved, and then everybody's performance is ranked relative to that virtual best, okay? We evaluated performances on 5 different domains, on 5 grid maps. So 3 of these grid maps have appeared before in the literature. We'll talk about them in a second. They come from essentially a game domain, city domains, and small random maps. And we also generated 2 new types of domains specifically for this competition, right? Inspired by the sort of setups that we heard a minute ago from Federico, right? We have a fulfillment domain, which is similar to the warehouse, and we have a sortation, which is similar to the mail sorting. The maps are revealed, but the evaluation instances, right? So how many agents are actually on the map and what exactly the set of errands is, those are hidden for the purposes of evaluation, okay? So the competition essentially started with a warm-up round in mid-July last year. That went for a few weeks to allow participants to essentially become familiar with the setup, with the code harness and everything, and the submission system. Our main round ran from the 19th of August to the 30th. Excuse me, ran from the 19th of August to the 30th of November. And we had results announced just before Christmas in 2023. We received 825 submissions, which is amazing, from 25 different teams from all over the world. So there's some numbers here. We had 10 teams from Europe. You can see here some countries. We had 3 teams from the USA, 1 team from South America, 3 from East Asia, and 7 from mystery locations. So they preferred not to say, and we preferred not to find out. Here's an interesting looking plot. So this is basically tracking the number of evaluated submissions over time, right? So this is and so, you can see that as we get closer to the end of the competition, of course, there is more and more submissions, which is nice to see, right? So excitement kind of building up there before the deadline. I want to talk a bit about how performance actually went on the different problem instances, right? And I just want to distinguish between 3 different categories of problems that we generated, right? So we tried basically to generate problems from, which are challenging in different ways, right? So we have a set of problems which we call high density. We'll see those in a minute. So here, it's like small maps with many, many agents. Then we have what we call industry scale problems, right? So here the main challenge is kind of scaling up. So bigger maps, larger teams of agents. And we have large scale problems, which is we kind of regard as aspirational, right? So the sort of the next, the sort of beyond where we think that most current applications are, but it's it seems sort of the necessary direction, the kind of performance levels that we need to reach into the future. Okay. So high density, we're looking at a 32 by 32 map here. We have 5 different high density instances, right? So on this map, there's only 819 traversable tiles, right? And we run up to 800 agents on these tiles, or on this map, right? So up to 98% density. And so, we have different densities to kind of give an opportunity for different kinds of planners to show their strengths. Here is a plot, which is basically showing for each of the 5 different high density instances, right? So what the lines represent is the best result for that particular instance over time, and the colors are when the top score for a given instance changes from one team to another team. Okay, so we can see here as a team's traded places having the best the best known solutions for these problems. So what's interesting is over here for 100 agents, right? We got to fairly early. We got to a best score, which is very difficult to improve upon. We think that this is an indicator that this problem is being solved near optimally, okay, close to optimal. Over here, in particular, I want to draw your attention to this thing. So this is the very hardest one, right? With 800 agents. And what's interesting is that for these problems, you can see that there's these performance plateaus, right? So it's not clear that we've reached necessarily, the same sort of performance, very close to optimal as we have for 100 agents. Let's talk briefly about the industry scale. So industry scale, basically, right? So previously it's like small maps, but lots of agents, very dense, right? So now we're talking about big maps. By big maps, we're talking about maps of tens of thousands of locations. And we're talking about many thousands of agents now, okay? So there's two maps here that we've drawn from, there is a well-known MapF benchmark, which I've listed up in the corner here, that many of us in the community use for evaluation purposes. We choose two of these maps. So we have on the street map, which is a part of a kind of a discretized representation of Paris, between 1,500 and 3,000 agents. And the games domain, 6,500 agents. So here's performance on the games domain, right? Again, you see these plateaus, which is I think interesting, right? And we can see how teams are trading places, including right up at the very end, right, of the competition. This is the street map, right? And we see some similar things there. Please excuse the background noise if you can hear it coming from my house. It's morning time here, and the kids are going to school. It's always an exciting time. Bear with me. I apologize. Finally, large-scale maps, right? So here we have kind of similar number of states to what we had in the industry scale, but we have even more agents, right? So now we're really, right, we're trying to kind of push beyond, right, where things are currently at. So there's a small illustrative example of this warehouse domain that we've generated, right? So we're inspired by the sort of Amazon-style warehouses, but of course we don't have any data specifically from Amazon. One thing I will say is that the distributions of errands on these maps do try to, they're non-random, right? So we kind of try to simulate workloads kind of based on our own intuitions, right, of how these warehouses probably work. So the sort of the human operators are on the sides and the things are in the middle. Okay. There's an interesting metric here about football fields, right? So these maps, 10 football fields big. And we have up to 10, we have 10,000 simultaneous agents. The sortation map is very similar size, again, 10 football fields, 10,000 agents, slightly smaller density. So it's interesting looking here, right? So these two maps, even though they have some different densities, they do tend to converge on the same performance number. We think there might be more to go here before we really reach that same plateau as we saw on the small random problems, right, where it's difficult to get further achievement. Almost 200,000 errands were completed by participants on these maps, so that's amazing. Let me just briefly talk about it, right? So everything I've shown you here, all of the maps, all of the best known solutions, all of the entries from participants, right? If you're curious about what these look like, you can do that, right? So we've open sourced all of these, right? I put here some links to our GitHub repositories. So all of the best, all of the benchmarks and all the best known solutions. And all of the submissions, right? So please visit our benchmark and code archive respectively. We've also open sourced all of the problem descriptions, the validators, the planner interfaces, right? So the competition start kit basically to help people get a leg up in this area no matter what problem they're working on. That we also have problem generators for the warehouse and sortation domains, and they're going to be open sourced in the coming days. I had hoped to have those for you by today, but we didn't quite make it. They're coming very soon. Okay, so now we move to the best part, I think, of today, which is the award session, right? So this is where we get to celebrate really the splendid achievements of the participants in the competition. So there were three categories, okay, three ways to compete in the 2023 League of Robot Runners. So we had a category called Line Honors. So this is a prize that is awarded for the highest number of best known solutions. The grand prize here is a $2,500 USD cash prize. Thank you to Amazon Robotics, by the way, for making all of these grand prizes possible. We're very grateful, and it would not be possible without them. The second category is fast mover. So here, the objective is to get the highest score, right? So I mentioned it's a comparison versus the virtual best, okay? So on every instance, you're compared against the best that anybody got, and you get a relative achievement score, and we sum up your scores, right? What makes this category different is that, so the planner has to respond always whenever it gets asked for a set of actions, right? You're not allowed to have any timeouts in order to be eligible for the fast mover category. And again, there's a $2,500 grand prize for this category. Finally, we have the overall best. So this is just the highest score, unrestricted. Okay, so you can have timeouts if timeouts for one time step helps you compute a better sequence of actions for subsequent time steps. There's a $5,000 grand prize for this category. This is a trend plot. So on our competition website, we have a leaderboard, and it's possible to see how things are going in each of the categories over time. So I just took a snapshot of what this looked like at the end. So it's interesting to see here, right? So the maximum score is 10. And it's interesting to see, that there was quite a fierce fight, right, with teams trading places throughout. So let me highlight in particular the top three entries in this category. Okay, so I have two performance awards. So these are not cash prizes, but they are recognized by a Swish certificate from the organizers. So in third place, we have Team NCD MIPT, which comprises Zain Aberdeen Ali. So congratulations, Zain. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done. Wonderful, wonderful performance. In second place, we have Team Pikachu, comprising Heijang, Yulun Zhang, Rishi Virpaneni, and Zhaoyang Li. Well done, guys. Wonderful, wonderful job. Finally, we have the grand prize in the line honors category. So the grand prize goes to Team Shadox, comprising Guilherme da Fonseca and Aldo Gonzalez Lorenzo. Please excuse my pronunciation. Fantastic, fantastic effort. Well done. Please join with me to congratulate all of our award winners. Really fantastic. Okay. The next category that I wanted to talk a little bit about is the fast mover category. So again, we have a trend plot from our competition website. And here you can see the relative scores as they developed over time, right? So it's interesting to see when submissions are occurring, right? We don't actually see all submissions because we just see best submissions from every team. So, it's only when each team improves on their submission that we see an uptick. But we can still see sort of places, where there's more frenzied activity and response and counter response to submissions, which was very exciting to watch. So the performance awards for the fast mover category, right? In third place, again, Team NCD MIPT. Congratulations to Zain Aberdeen Ali. Well done. Second place, Team Shadox this time. Guillermo de Fonseca and Aldo Gonzalez Lorenzo. Well done. Fantastic, fantastic performance here. And of course, the grand prize winner and $2,500 US goes to Team Pikachu. Hey Zhang, Zhang Rishi Verpaneni, and Zhao Yang Li. Please excuse my dreadful pronunciation. It is 5 a.m. in the morning here, and I'm struggling a little bit. But wonderful, wonderful job. Please join with me one more time to congratulate our fast mover participants. Okay. Finally, the overall best, right? So over here you can see many more lines, right? So this is just kind of reflecting the fact that we didn't have the no timeout requirement that was present in the fast mover category. So lots more people qualified for the overall best. And you can see that there was quite a fierce fight. What's interesting is that, things were running hot right up until the very end, right? So you can see here the top two teams that were trading places in the very last days. It was tremendously exciting to watch. So performance awards for the overall best category. In third place again, Team NCD MIPT Zain Aberdeen Ali. Congratulations. Well done. Very, very nice achievement. In second place, Team Shadox. So just pipped at the end, but very, very well deserving. Aguia D. Da Fonseca and Aldo Gonzalez Lorenzo. Well done. Very, very good. And finally, the grand prize and $5,000 US. Of course, Team Pikachu, Hei Jiang, Yulong Zhang, Rishi Veerpaneni, and Zhao Yang Li. Wow. Amazing. Really, really fantastic, fantastic job. So that before we finish, right? I just wanted to say, so you can visit our website, right? I put the URL here. If you haven't already, if you're not familiar with the Robot Runners website, or if you haven't seen it in a while, right? Our leaderboard has a complete history of everybody's score, and I just wanted to congratulate, right, each of our participants for all of the effort that they have put into the competition, and the scores that they managed to achieve, right? You should all be proud. And again, let me re-emphasize all of these implementations, right? If anything here looks interesting, please visit our code archive. Please have a look at the participant submissions we have archived. Not one submission from each team, but we have archived every non-dominated submission from each team, right? So every submission that achieved the best solution, for instance, is archived. Every solution that was non-dominated at the end of the competition in each category is archived, right? So you're encouraged to use this wonderful treasure trove of resources to build on your own research and to go a little bit further.